All right. Hey, Bob, made it there.
Yep, I'm here.
Susan, nice to see you.
Hey there. Rob's got his son in the background, so I'm gonna try to stay on mute because they're talking.
Sure.
Do I see Marky Reynolds right there? Somebody messing with Mark?
He's Marky Mark. Yes.
That's good.
Well, you have a quorum. So.
Marquee
There's John.
Reynolds?
And he's our new singer in Georgetown.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the rafters, Craig.
The rafters?
The rafters.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to unmute. You're welcome.
Okay, is everybody ready? We have enough? One,
Um,
2, 3,
Yeah,
4.
wait a second. Yes, ready.
We have 4. Is that enough?
It is enough.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and start. Maybe somebody else will join us. And would you please take the roll?
Sure. Joan Eaton?
Here.
Sean Platt? Cindy Neely?
Here,
Nancy Hale? Mark Reynolds? Think you're there.
I am now.
Yeah, right. Bob Hamilton?
Here.
Frank Kanzer?
Okay, and could we get approval of the agenda? Cindy, did you have anything on that programmatic agreement yet?
yeah, I can tell you just, yes, stick
Okay.
it down. I'll tell you what it's about and why I think we don't worry about it.
Okay, I'll just make a note then. So anybody have anything else, or do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, everybody that's on has something on the agenda. I'll ask any members that have had ex parte communication or involved personally with any of the applicants tonight to recuse themselves when that application comes up. And so we will start with Mike Huggins.
Hello, how you all doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So,
So you're back.
I'd like to thank you all again for doing the concept review with us a couple weeks ago. And then this is the proper submittal for, I guess, design review. And yeah, we're looking to do a remodel of our home that's at 603 Burnell Street, which is kind of what I feel is the gateway to the downtown district, where Argentine turns into Burnell before most people turn on 6 or go up to the Georgetown Loop. And yeah, we've been here for 3 years now, a little over 3 years, and we've been ecstatic about being part of this community. And yeah, fell in love with it way more than we anticipated. We kind of half foot into this thinking it would be a second home, and now it's our primary residence, and it has been. And we commute down in Denver when we have to for work, and yet spend most of our times up here in Georgetown.
Good.
Good.
Okay. So I know that we had asked about materials and it's hard for us to see them on a Zoom call. Did you have materials? Is there something that anybody in particular wanted to see?
The submittal has sort of identification of all
Uh-huh.
of the materials.
Well, I think I wanted to kind of see the log, and I just wondered if you got a chance to look at the log siding.
Yes, I have some pictures of examples. Let me see if I might switch over to my computer view and see if that.
Share a screen with us.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
I am kind of new at screen sharing. I've done it before successfully once. We'll see how this goes. So we might get some reverb. I might mute myself and then switch over to my.
There appear to be 2 of you.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm Rick. I'm with TDG Architecture.
Okay. The name says Mike.
Yes, I saw that. He forwarded me the email to join this Zoom call. I didn't want to change it because it would probably change his too.
Rick, what's your last name, please?
It's Hibbard, Hibbard.
Thanks. And what architecture?
TDG.
Thanks.
Cool. We're back on. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Now Rick might be set up as well to go over this, or he might just chime in. So I will try sharing my screen. Perfect. Okay, so here we have some materials in color. The weathered hand-hewn log siding is what I think most of you are questioning. And I'm going to see if I can pull up this example photo.
actually, it's a board siding. It's
Well,
not
it's
a
not-
rounded log siding.
It's flat logs. They're hewn logs.
It's
Yeah.
hewn, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I like
white
it.
lines, or white lines in between are chinking. Yeah.
There we
Oh,
go.
yeah, yeah. And so is it actually really siding with chinking or is it all built that way? You know what I mean? Is it a panel of that or is it put together siding and then chinking on it?
It is put together siding and chinking. There's a company in Grand Junction that hand hews the siding so it looks as if it has saw cuts in it.
Oh, nice.
And then you add the chinking to it.
Okay.
Okay. And that goes on,
The east wall and part of the south wall.
right, but that becomes the whole east wall? The east wall is the one that has the oriel window in it.
Mhm.
It's the one that faces the street.
Yeah.
Right, so that whole facade, the
Yeah.
whole facade that
This-
faces the street would be
And then
the,
it's the north and south side of that also.
Right.
And then it goes around to the south. Is that what you were saying, Sean?
Yes, it's on the north and south side of that front portion of the house.
So it is the whole, it forms,
3 sides.
yeah, it
Correct.
feels like the whole house until the house takes off towards the west.
The whole first section of it. Okay.
Okay,
Nice. Thank you.
I like that.
so that basically is the original structure?
So this structure was redone probably in the 70s or 80s. And the original structure is a section in the middle, which is really small.
Oh, okay.
it was a cabin, wasn't it?
You know, it's hard to tell because there's so much had been done to it. And the
Yeah.
little funny dormers had been put on it. And yeah, it really doesn't have a whole lot of anything left.
And that's the structure, the original structure is the one you're going to be adding to above,
Correct.
adding above the original structure.
Yes.
Hey Cindy, would that be in the mixed use area or the commercial? No, I see it. It is.
No,
mixed
the
use.
line goes down the middle of the street, I believe, but
It's
it may
marked-
be across the street.
Yeah, yeah, the house across the street. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It would be the same book either way. Okay, anybody got more questions?
About materials?
Or anything else? I just wanted to start with that for it so I didn't forget it.
Okay, I wondered a little bit, there is a statement in here that about window proportions. In general, we look towards our house to houses to have essentially somewhat of a vertical emphasis, largely created by roof form and window proportions. And that statement because we don't have we don't have the proportions of windows on the plans. And where is that written statement that says something about windows here? New double hung windows with proper vertical proportions will replace the 70-80s horizontal proportioned windows wherever possible. When we look at the east elevation, given you have something up on the screen, is it possible to pull that elevation up on the screen?
Hold on one second. Did that bring that up?
That's
Nope,
the south.
south.
Okay.
But the south, you see right now, the south in the drawing I
We're
have,
gonna the east.
yeah, there
Did,
you
did
are.
that show the east? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
that shows the east. That's the east. I'm hesitating because with the siding may make a difference here. But in general circumstances, we would say we have whole little section in our books, unfortunately not in the general book, about window proportions being 1 to 2. They twice the height than the width, and as a matter of fact, preferably 1 to 2.2. And these are you know, a little bit squared off. We would tend to go for a bit more of a vertical emphasis and a bit more height over that width if it fits.
Okay.
Cindy, what about just the bottom one? You know, there's that kind of bay window on the right that's
Well,
bigger.
I was going to get to the bay in a minute. I was talking about the other 3.
Yeah, but I was going to say if the window to the left there, the smaller one to the left of the bay window was tall, you know, much more proportionate. I think the upper ones, you know, being on an upper story might not need to be as tall.
It will look more balanced if you've got them all.
Okay.
And they are similarly proportioned. The 3 are similarly proportioned. My sense is, are you going to replace these windows anyway?
Yeah. The plan is to replace them so they're more efficient windows, and also to have the divided lights, which I thought would fit more of the style because these windows have been replaced probably within the last 20 years, maybe 25 years. And they're just straight pane right now.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that our guidelines say is don't give them too many panes. You know, if you're going to, I mean, these show 6/6, but that chops them up a whole bunch. That we would tend to go to 2/2 even, to which is an older look than these super multi-pane windows. The other thing I wondered about is the bay, which is an oriel because it doesn't drop to the ground. Should it just have a sort of a base under it so it looks like it's complete to the ground?
We could do that. We will, I believe we'll have to ask for a variance because we're within the setback.
Oh, well, I wondered whether that was the problem.
Mhm.
And if that's the problem, I could see maybe giving it a slanted bottom.
What about
So it draws it down
timber-
without putting a footprint down, because I wondered exactly whether that was a difficulty.
what about doing timber supports that would be angled?
Yeah, something that's just angled in under it, which sort of, I'm pointing to my screen. Doesn't that be helpful? Don't
Yeah,
laugh.
like a wood corbel or something like that.
Yes, something that's under there. Else it's
Okay.
hanging out there. I mean, it needs to belong a little closer to its structure. But I would hope you could give some thought to lengthening those windows and maybe getting a 1 to 2 out of it. I didn't measure it.
Cindy, what if the bay window would be the same size? I mean, the window that's on the first floor there would match the half of the bay window as far as height, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So when you look across there, the top of the bay window would match the height of the window next to it, to the left, in the same depth.
Yeah, I have a
So
2-foot
those are
sill on
probably-
it.
Yeah, and those are probably like, most of our old windows are at least 5 foot tall.
But what's interesting is on your south side, your new windows in the addition do fit that dimension.
Yes. We have more ceiling height on that side. On the new has, the existing ceilings are really low in that front.
Aha, okay.
And so they're close to, you can see that I have them close to the door heads. So they're at 7 feet.
Gotcha. Okay.
I do think though that we could bring the window sills down, especially on the lower one, because that's a living room. So that would work with that area. On that east side. So the window to the
Then on
left.
the,
Yeah.
then
just
what
so-
about your uppers? Could your uppers go down too?
They may. That is a master, and maybe if we did a 2.6 sill, I feel like when you go a little too low with the sills, that you lose a lot of privacy, especially since it's right on the street. So you don't have the option of having your windows or your curtains open. You know, you tend to have your blinds closed all the time, but it's definitely
But this is the side that you're going to actually really see the most.
yes.
And I think it's important to have those windows matching, or at least be similar in size to the one down below.
Okay.
And that would match what the neighbors are doing, or the bed and breakfast to the right of this has all the old original windows in the front. And so that would help tie you into your neighbor's house just a little bit, as far as it wouldn't look like you just chopped some holes in, in the facade and stuck windows in.
Okay. Well, you know.
Because I think the south side looks excellent and really sort of illustrates that what windows do for the, and I understand that the roof slope is obviously at a different slope also, but if you had shortened up those windows, that whole south side would look more squat.
Right.
It would lose a good sense of its vertical emphasis, and our guidelines tell us to head towards our vertical emphasis, and they're actually, I mean, this is a horizontal house, but there's actually good vertical emphasis in that middle piece.
Yeah, I think that kind of relates to it being a mining outbuilding, something a little different in the mixed area.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also would give some consideration to how many panes, how much subdivision of those windows that you want.
Okay. Yeah, and you said you'd like fewer.
Yes, I mean, you're showing a lot of 6/6 in the drawing.
Yes.
They're definitely to wash that way. That's not the point, though.
What about the, like the French doors? There's a pair on the balcony and a pair down below the addition. Do those need divided lights? Is that preferable or not?
I think, again, you may want to limit how much in divided lights.
There's a lot of lines.
Typically, the Victorians I'm down on the Front Range, and our Victorians do tend to have a lot of divided lights in them. So I'm kind of using that. I do understand that Georgetown's Victorian is very much its own Victorian style. So
Well, it's very Bonanza-y Victorian. It's earlier actually than some of what went on in Denver. So I always think of it's a little bit plainer in its way. There's a wonderful book called called Bonanza Victorian, which is interesting. One of our applicants at one point did a whole study for us on windows and went around and measured them, and it was sort of fascinating. Yeah, typically we're at 2/2, but 4/4 sort of. It's just 6/6 is.
Yeah, the same thing would apply to the bay window too in the front.
Yeah, fewer. Well, and then I kind of wanted that to match the divided light of the, that's a more contemporary piece to try to be of this time too. So I was matching kind of similar proportions in divided lights, so that definitely would work.
But I think with the French doors, I'm just going street view down because it kind of got kind of intentionally went with the divided lights because it seems to be very common in French doors and storefronts with a lot of buildings that are in the downtown district compared to like traditional big large panes. Some stuff that I've done with one of our bars, we did a lot of divided lights because we were trying to mimic leaded glass, and I bought actual true vintage glass that was waved and thicker at the bottom than was top. You can only get that in so much size of panes, and so we had to do a lot of divided lights for that, and that's what I was trying to replicate in vintage, but I'm still pretty ignorant when it comes to like the different Victorian styles and what they called for when it came for glass panes and divisions, but I do see the elongated windows with being broken up 2/2 a lot when I'm looking at a lot of these other houses. But whenever I see any kind of French doors or any half light doors of main entrances and whatnot, I see a lot more divisions.
Yeah, I would agree that there are a lot more divisions now. You're talking about those two windows as bay windows. Are they bays? Do they project out?
The one that goes on the west underneath the addition towards the garage is the existing bay window, a traditional kind of 3-sided, and that's existing right now. And so there, I wanted to square it off to make it look a little bit more of like a kind of an old commercial structure versus like a residential bay window. And that one we did bring down all the way to the ground, where it is not right now currently.
You did bring it to the ground?
That one does go down to the ground, yes.
Am I missing?
We will use part of that too will be used as foundation to support. So we are pouring a new foundation next to the old foundation. So we'll have a little more support for the new structure above.
So
that whole bay that the window is in it's a bump out.
It's a bump out, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Bob, because I missed that it was a bump out.
Yeah, if you look at the site plan, you can see that it's a bump out. What are the simulated divided lights? What are the lights going to be made of?
I think that we'll probably go with it'll be the better middle version of them, where you tend to have you'll have the wood on the outside, you'll have the wood on the inside, and then you'll have the filler strip in between the panes. So when you see them from the outside, they really look like divided lights. So
Okay.
that's the goal with those.
It's a Marvin window product. Marvin brand.
Right. Okay. That's
Yeah,
just
it
what
won't
I
be
was
the tape
curious.
on the glass. So,
Or the metal inserts between the glass.
in between the glass,
Yeah.
exactly. Well,
Yeah.
they look like, they'll appear to be real divided lights. As good as
Okay.
they can do without having the real thing. So
Right.
And does the window on the east end of this south end, does that exist?
Currently,
it does exist. Yeah, there is, and that is almost the same size as the one that's there.
But it's divided, like it's got a picture window in the middle and two operable windows on the sides.
Two casements.
You mean that's what it has now?
Right.
Currently.
All right, and you're changing that.
Yes. We're going to match the bump out and the east small Oreo.
And the bump out is new?
Yes. There's a bay window there now that exists there now.
Okay, I got it. Well, I think the materials are going to be fascinating, and I think we should make it clear, because this isn't our traditional range of materials, but this is also this is not a historic structure from as far as a contributing structure to our landmark district.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think that's exactly why we did what we did. We wanted something that would be a little unique, that can add to Georgetown's history, and part of it too is, since it's not historic, we kind of wanted something that would also be of this time right now and how you see things. So, the goal is kind of to have somebody that passes by wonder if it's a new or an old structure, and it's like, when was this built? Is it really an old piece of the old mining history that has been used as a secondary outbuilding, and they just added to it over time, and then was it remodeled? So that's kind of the goal of what we were doing with the materials, and part of it had to do with just roof pitches and things that were just not Victorian at all, that were existing on the house already.
Yeah.
So I think we're all pretty excited on the direction that this house has taken.
No, I would agree with that. It's nice to add interesting, because one of the tenets of the architecture of Georgetown is its diversity.
Yeah, you have the old Swiss chalet ski lodges, and you definitely have a lot of different things up there. It's fun for me to walk around the streets up there. I like that.
Okay, well, are we ready for sightings or what have you?
yes, if everybody's done with their questions.
Well, one more on materials before we leave materials. What's the front porch materials or the front balcony materials? Because you've got the exposed steel beams for holding up the second floor, but I don't see the materials called out for the balcony. Is that more exposed steel beams, steel I-beams, or is that something different?
So we'll have a timber. We'll have large timber columns holding it up, and then I am showing a C-channel fascia board around the deck right now, too, that will kind of tie in with the new structure. So we have a C-channel that wraps around the base of the new structure, and then it kind of will parallel along that.
So it'll be exposed steel as well.
Yeah.
Is that weathered steel, or are you galvanizing it, painting it? What's the finish of the steel?
That's a good question. We haven't really gotten that far. I think that Mike and Leica will want to discuss that too, on whether or not, I always like to advise that the rust will stain everything. So if you have exposed wood that you don't want to keep having stained and changing color, then you're definitely going to want to paint it. So that's kind
Right.
of where we are with that one.
I don't have any concerns with it.
The height of that railing is not the same as the height of the current railing.
No, the current railing isn't up to code. It's too low.
But it's brought in, and I mean, it isn't flush with the east facade of the building.
Right.
Because the current porch sort of overwhelms the structure.
I think that we were, as we did this, as we designed this, I think we were thinking about it more. When you look at a lot of the old mines, you know, they had a lot of old platforms and the mining buildings where they would work outside, and they were, or the machinery was filled the room so much that that is how they would move around from one side of the building to another sometimes. And it's kind of fascinating, I think, when you look at those old buildings. Some of my favorites are right there in Silver Plume.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the porch and the area below it are stepped back from the front facade will is a big improvement too.
Oh, yes, I agree. I agree.
Cindy, did you have some sightings?
Mhm. Not enough, not many actually. But if we start with doors and windows, it's page 68 in book 2. It is section 6 of chapter 7. Chapter 7, section 6. And it actually we're on page 69. Lots of this, of course, relates to historic subdivisions. So, specifically,
I think C, if you just go with the heading, you know, maintain original window and door proportions, I think that goes to what we talked about with the, you know, the height and width ratio.
with staying with our proportions. And
I think you can almost go to page 70 and start with I.
Yeah.
yes. And yes, I agree. The new opening similar in location to on page 70.
What section is that?
That is still in section, chapter 7, section 6.
Okay, I.
It's on
Okay.
page 70. And it's under I2, a general rule for a window opening is that the height should be twice the dimension of the width.
Yeah, and 3 also, where the window should be simple in shape, arrangement, and detail.
That was 4. Bob?
Oh, that was 3. I
Okay,
3.
thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
And
And then J, windows and doors should be finished with trim elements similar to those used traditionally.
And then 2, J2 also.
Then for the overall materials, page 81, which is in chapter 8, section 5. And it's the maintaining the existing range of exterior wall materials. And since we are doing that, under A and under D, that physical samples of materials may need to be provided to the Design Review Commission. And given that what we have is Zoom, they are being presented.
How about E on page 82? Larger buildings and projects on large parcels consider a combination of appropriate materials as a means of reducing the apparent size of the project.
I think that can be used,
That's good.
yes.
Are we doing anything about the driveway there? Is the driveway's gravel right now?
The driveway is a brick, like a hexagon brick.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I would like to do that. I don't know if they'll be part of this. I have not figured out a design for it, but it'll be some sort of other brick or pavers to replace it because there's weeds growing through it and all that.
Okay.
Did you want to do something for the roof?
So he's showing the in the two areas the existing standing seam roof. If we do replace that, it'll be something very similar color and design. But then on the new addition, he has it going to a shingle style roof.
That was on the materials.
Yeah. So.
And then in chapter 9, section 2, page 87, under new additions, A, design an addition such as it will not obscure or destroy the character of the original building. And I think this is exactly the opposite. I think it brings out the character of the original building.
Yeah.
And this is not a typical addition for, so it,
No.
gutters. Are you replacing a gutter system?
Yes, I would love to, and I would like to have the rounded. Be nice to do true copper. I don't know what products they have for that, but the rounded copper style gutters was what I would prefer to see on there. We have not gone that far of detail. It is something we talked about earlier in the project.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have not delved into what products or look for that look, that copper gutter look.
What our guidelines say is actually, as long as your gutters match your building in color, we don't have to deal with your gutters. What we don't want to have happen is that somebody does a whole beautiful place and then they put on basically aluminum shiny looking gutters.
No,
and,
that's not gonna be happening.
and that happens. Also, if there are any vents that come out of that roof, they need to be they need to be non-reflective, a matte color. So I think that I'd like to have us note both those things, that they that the applicant has been told about those two items, the
Yep.
fence and the roof and the gutters, so
Yeah,
that,
about it. Any exterior lighting should be, dark sky compliant.
Right, yep.
about which we need to talk to your neighbors. So you were mentioning a roof because we have a whole new roof line in this. And
Yeah, it was, chapter 8,
what page? You on?
section 6, page 82. C, roof materials on new buildings should appear similar in those traditionally. And C1, 30-year or greater composition or composite shingles in muted colors are appropriate. And then for the gutters, page 83, E, gutters and downspouts are appropriate if painted to match the structure.
Or colored in whatever way to match the structure. And then there is something, I didn't do my homework terribly well this time. There is something on roof form. And that's on page, no. Are we in the historic mixed use? Did you decide that that's where we were?
No, that's what was marked, and I think the dividing line is the next block over once you get to Fifth, to the post office. I mean, there, you know what I mean? Post office and the
No, I think,
yellow have. So I think it's mixed use.
yes, so do I. And which would mean
It
that
is mixed use.
page 28, under historic mixed use character area, section 2, the roofs should be in the range of 712, which is what you've got on that roof.
Yeah, so I didn't want it to be too tall. I wanted because we were thinking about it as more of a mining outbuilding, I wanted this one to be a little more subordinate to the houses next to it. So I didn't want it to be too tall if we made it too steep.
Yes, but it is steeper than your front one.
Yes, it is.
And it says it's a 712.
I believe it is.
Yes.
Well, that's what it shows on your plan.
That's what
Okay,
it shows.
good. Good. I couldn't remember.
Cindy, what was the siding on that section 2 on page 28?
Yes.
C2,
Thank you.
D2, yes. So John, I think maybe even on a regular basis, we ought to make note on our little certificates about vents and gutters and lights that the applicant has been informed. So
Okay, I did write that in on this one.
super, thank you.
Actually, I have that the east side windows, the 3 smaller ones, are to be made as much as possible to the more of the 1:2 scale, and that the large oriel window would have some support beams of some sort below it to give it some length.
Yeah.
Okay.
To tie it to the ground, basically.
Okay, do we need anything else?
I don't think so. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be fun to watch.
I'm pretty excited about it.
That'd be
So
really nice.
can I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the application with the sightings as noted and the stipulations.
Can I hear a second? Is
I'll second.
there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care.
Yeah.
Okay, let's, Cabin Creek Brewery. That's Craig. Are you on?
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to note how relaxed Mark looks in this setting. I think Zoom is good for Mark.
Oh, man, it's been a long day.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, thanks for having me. So we obviously COVID in our Zoom meeting here are obvious to everybody, but we had a great summer at Cabin Creek, and that was in large part due to our ability to seat folks outside. Being at 50% capacity inside, which is where we're at now. We spent the summer actually at 50 people inside. And the numbers are trending in a better direction than they were about a week ago. But obviously our capacity limitations are significant, and we anticipate fairly high demand, right around the typical time, starting early December and going on through the first of the year, slowing down a little bit and then popping back up in March and April. But in order to accommodate the kind of we won't even meet the kind of capacities that we were having this summer with the outside seating. We were looking for options to address that. And we found a yurt that was available for immediate purchase, didn't have to be manufactured, from the Colorado Yurt Company in Montrose, Colorado. And so that's what we're proposing to construct adjacent to our building at Cabin Creek Brewing. And if I can share my screen, I will give you. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a picture of a yurt, a 30-foot diameter yurt erected in downtown Denver. This doesn't represent the exact color arrangement that we have. This is the same color roof that we will have. It will have a 5-foot diameter clear operable dome on top for ventilation. The walls will be green though. Instead, the roof will be tan, the walls will be green, which is really more this color here. This is the exact door configuration. There's one on either end that'll face one north, one south. And then there are 3 of these windows, 2 that'll face to the east towards the lake, and then 1 that'll face towards the west. These are zipper vinyl windows that have a canvas cover we can roll down and zip around here. Really a very nice design on these yurts. And we paid for it, trust me. Just to give you some sense as to where it's going to be located. So 22nd Street, I don't know if you can see my cursor, hopefully, is out here to the left of your screen. The front entrance to Cabin Creek is right here. And then our patio kind of wraps around to the east, heading south. And then that yurt will be located about exactly 10 feet off of the southeast corner of the building, set back 5 feet from the property line, and immediately adjacent to our parking area. What else can I tell you? Sorry. It is.
Has a floor.
It does. It has a platform. It's basically 4x8 timbers with 1 1/8 plywood on top of it for the floor, for the base. It's temporary. I should have started with that. We intended to have it up for no more than 180 days, at which point we'll reevaluate whether it was successful or not and usable, and which I think it will be, and then we'll evaluate whether we want to come back as a permanent structure, or if we want to just continue routinely taking it down every spring. And because honestly, this is where it's located, in my personal opinion, kind of affects our views off this patio area, which is kind of one of the things that people enjoy the most. So I could see ourselves taking it and keeping it a temporary structure where we just basically come back every 6 months and go through the same process and then re-erect it. It's all put together with screws. It really is intended to be a structure that you can, sorry, my dog and my cat are going crazy here. It is intended to be a structure that you can take down and relocate. It's really just a very stout tent. I don't know how many of you have ever had a chance to be in a yurt, but yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't know how.
I've had the pleasure of building 2 or 3 of them now and then taking them down and moving them.
They're not fun.
Yeah, it's a nice structure though. I'm curious, did you get the insulation package for them?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of helped.
Yeah, it's got the wall and roof insulation package on it, so it'll make it much more comfortable. You know, this is not an indoor dining experience. I mean, it'll be classified under COVID rules as indoor in terms of seating capacity, but certainly folks will be advised that they're entering an outdoor environment really for their experience.
So you're not heating it?
No, we don't have any intention of heating it. We'll just do string lights in there. Honestly, I've been in a number of these. We constructed 6 of them down at Lawson Adventure Park a few years back, and heating was a major concern on the front end. And once they started operating them, only on the coldest nights did they even use their heating source that they have in those now. So.
Okay. All right. Has anybody got any
You
questions?
get ventilation in there?
Yeah, so all 3 of those windows are operable. It's natural ventilation.
Okay.
So all
Just
3 of the
curious.
windows are operable, 2 doors, and then the dome is operable as well. So I can reshare the screen if you want.
I think we have that picture.
Yeah, you can see here. See this dome is partially open. This will open about 6 inches, but all of these windows are operable as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Anybody got some sightings?
Well, I think it's a little difficult. I think that also that we should be really clear that this is a temporary structure.
I've already made a note on here about that.
And that Kent, I don't know, there is some sort of a permitting thing for a temporary structure, is there not? I mean, a permit that comes from the town administrator? Because
It's a temporary special use permit.
Oh, did we lose Kent?
Safe Built regarding that as well. Cindy, I was trying to get unmuted. So,
Oh, okay. And what did you say?
yes, it requires a temporary use permit. And I've been in discussions with Safe Built regarding the building permit or what would be required for it. So that part of it.
Okay, so the temporary use permit would indicate the date at which this needed to come down.
Yes, it absolutely should. Correct.
Because Craig, you actually had a temporary permit for something else up in town, I recall once.
Yes, I don't remember.
It was the.
That was when Tom was here. Yeah.
Yeah, the big dumpster by the.
Oh, it was the 20-foot Connex up by Town Hall there
Yes,
on that lot. Yeah.
yeah.
Same thing.
Because.
I think the time period on that was different, but this is going to be 6 months as governed by the building code. I think a temporary temporary special use permit, I think, can go 9, if I remember right from that experience. But this will be 6 because that's what the building code allows for.
And the reason I stress that is that in general, I don't think that this is necessarily a form that we would choose for permanent structures. And not that there are very many places you could put it, but you know, I don't necessarily want to encourage the idea that yurts could be used as permanent houses.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I would agree with you 100% on that. Listen, this thought never would have crossed our mind if we weren't meeting by Zoom right now.
Yes, no, I understand it, and I actually am in favor. I just want us to be careful about setting our what kind of precedents that we set. And this is a commercial use in a mixed use area, essentially because of a pandemic.
Yeah, I think our disposition on this should state that as well, that there's really nothing to review it against in terms of our guidelines. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a temporary use anyway, I'm not sure that, there would be much to say about it.
Ken and I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago.
But I think that I think that it's very good for it to come to the DRC, because I think the DRC has to make clear before things pop up in other plaese that yes, we have taken a look at this, that it is there because of a temporary use, because of these because of the pandemic that we're in. It has a commercial use. It is not a form that the DRC would consider appropriate for other uses. And I think that needs to be clearly stated. That's why I think it needed to come here.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's what we should do.
Okay, I've got that. And also I was gonna just double check with everyone on the decision form. I'm going to check that this is a condition of existing improvements that are a hazard to public health or safety due to COVID, that they can't have their restaurant full. So this is kind of taken into consideration.
That's good.
Yes.
Yes.
I would do that.
All right. Well then, any more discussion or questions?
Yeah, I think it doesn't really issue a certificate. I think it issues some form of statement to the town administrator, because it doesn't get a certificate of appropriateness because we wouldn't give it one.
Okay.
But,
We're kind of approving a special use permit for this
Yes.
structure,
Okay.
temporary structure.
I mean, it could be one of those forms like you were just reading, where we make a recommendation to another body in the government.
Who issued the special use permit?
The health and safety, and when we make a recommendation like the planning committee, we have a form we fill out. In this case, we'd be making our recommendation or our thoughts known to the town administrator, I guess.
yes, I think so.
Special use permit.
Do you want me to fill one of those out, Kent?
Yeah, I do want something in writing. One for this case for the Cabin Creek Brewery,
Okay.
but also I've already been contacted by a resident regarding the yurt. And I've also it might happen with some other businesses as well. So I would prefer something in writing from the DRC, and anybody else that would come with a similar type structure. I would do the same thing, even though it would be, same type of structure, but again, showing the layout, where it is, how long it's going to be. I think that's important for the public information as well. And it's not just
I agree.
town staff saying, Yahoo, let's go. It's someone else has reviewed it.
Do you guys want me to fill that out? I don't have one of those forms with me, but I know the questions on it. Do you guys want to give me your input on that?
No, Joan, I'm not sure I'm not sure because we are not being asked by a given other commission. I think that some sort of just direct statement, some sort of from this commission to the town administration that
Okay.
that yes, we have reviewed this. It is, the things we just said.
Exception, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We would not find this form of architecture generally within our guidelines. However, we understand it to be a temporary use for a commercial purpose as a result of the requirements of the pandemic.
Okay.
And therefore, will not dispute the issuance of a special use permit for it.
Okay. Like an Amber Alert.
Nope.
Okay, so no COA and no approval. Do we need a motion on this?
I think consensus is just fine, and it seems like you all were in agreement about it.
Anybody against it? Okay, I'll take care of that tomorrow then.
I think that would be good. Craig,
Yes,
can I ask another question?
absolutely.
While I was down there looking around,
Yeah.
I also viewed a couple of pipes sticking out of the left side of the brewery.
Pipes sticking out.
Yes, vents.
Oh,
I can't imagine that we approved a brewery that had unfinished metal venting.
we will paint those. I will warn you that paint may not last very long because those pipes get very, very hot. But we will paint those.
Can you etch them, age them, rust them or something?
No, they're galvanized. You kind of can't get raw metal vent pipes. So, but we'll paint them up. And if the paint chips off, we'll paint them again.
Okay, because we're fairly sensitive about what your venting looks like. And I'm sure that we did not look at the brewery and say, oh, it would be cool to have galvanized shiny metal vents out of the brewery.
Okay. We'll get them painted.
Okay. We're all done with you, I believe.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for waiting.
Oh, no problem. No, that was, I love what they're going to do.
Yeah, us too.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
So Cindy, you had some comments on the programmatic agreement.
Okay, yes, this programmatic agreement that the Forest Service is about to enter with the State Historic Preservation Office is directly related to how they might implement, they're required by the federal law, historic preservation law, to, before they undertake any action in the forest, to do a research survey about what exists on the ground as far as cultural resources, everything from archaeology up to mine tailings that deal with the hand of man. The difficulty is that in the midst of the fact that the world is burning down, they obviously cannot take the time to say, excuse me, but we can't send teams in there because we haven't yet done our research on the ground. So what this programmatic agreement is, that if they are doing in a response to a declared emergency and an hazardous environmental condition, whether it be fire or flood, they may have to do it after rather than before. And that's it's a lot of pages, but that's what those pages essentially say. And I would find, that, to me, it's obvious. But,
Okay.
and, but they do have some places that, it's interesting though, because they go into what you might have prehistoric cultural sites and then you have historic cultural sites. And so they have to outline the whole area that they're talking about. And so this pertains to the Arapahoe Roosevelt, to our forest.
Mhm.
And you all know that our forest is closed down as of today.
Yes.
Yep.
A day or two ago, yeah.
And I think that this is a real necessary tool for them, so they don't have somebody who comes along later and tries to sue the Forest Service because they didn't do an adequate study before they put firemen on the ground. I mean,
Right.
you'd like to believe it doesn't happen, but it does.
There's not anything required of us as far as
No, and I will thank Sue Struthers for the fact that they sent it to us to read
yes.
and tell them that our strong wishes are with them for successful termination of the firestorm they're in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for doing that. And now we have minutes to approve.
Yeah. Oh, and painted gutters. Can I just mention? Mark, do you know the folks across from Town Hall, Steve and Holly Holmes? Is that name?
The Yellow House?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a beautiful job on the outside, and then they put gutters on that they did not paint. And I think they put the gutters on because they understand that they don't have to come to us about putting the gutters on. But I wondered if somebody could talk to them quietly about maybe painting those gutters.
I don't know them, to be honest.
Okay, well,
Maybe we just send a note.
yeah,
I'm writing it down.
okay, thank you. Because I think they read our pre-approved says, yes, you can put on gutters, but you have to paint them.
Are they half barrels or are they just modern gutters?
No, they're the proper gutters.
Half round.
Yeah, they're the half rounds, but you look at the building, all of a sudden you have, they're raw metal gutters on the building, and a little bit of paint would go a long way on those to blend those in.
Okay.
And particularly because the Energy Museum wants to put up gutters. And it's going to be like neighbor, it's,
Yeah. We don't need a bad example there.
no, we don't need a bad example there.
Okay. On to the minutes. I did have one thing, and I'm not sure if this is exactly worded the way we intended on the Jessica Schoening about the fence. If you go about halfway down, it says that Ms. Schoening would have to apply for a zoning variance to keep the fences at their current height. I don't know that we were actually talking about being allowed to keep that front fence that height anyway.
All right.
Should-
It was
No.
the back and the ones that were for sheltering from the junkyard and stuff. But I don't think the front one was going to be approved by us so I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, you
I think,
give me an idea.
I think the word should be allow, Joan,
Allow.
to allow instead of to keep, to
Okay.
even
To
to have
allow. Okay,
Okay.
it, if the board
Okay.
would agree. So
that's perfect.
Yeah, if we, and so that's the only thing I actually saw.
Where does that stand, Ken?
they've been notified. I was just about to contact them and say, we have not received a variance request. You need to. I just took a picture of it today. So in
Because
order
they're
to,
actually supposed to take it down
Yep.
to, before they go to the variance board, aren't they?
well, if the variance application, if I would have received it within a couple days, you know, it could be a situation, but at this point, it needs to come down.
Needs to come down, yeah.
Well, it's, since they have a permit to run that as a vacation rental, right?
I don't know that part.
Yeah, it looks like they are. I mean, they've been,
Yeah, there's been cars all over. In fact, on that finely landscaped front yard, they put gravel on.
Oh,
It's
really?
become a parking lot. Yeah.
Okay.
But my suggestion would be that if they're in the process of getting that permit or do have a permit, I thought I saw that they applied someplace, but I could be wrong. Anyway, the town should have the right to pull that permit.
Yeah, we certainly can.
Well, and they
So-
don't have the
Yeah.
driveway situation resolved either. I don't think they should get a permit for anything yet.
No, no.
Sorry,
Okay,
just
Anybody else?
lost track of them.
Yep. It's in the report.
okay. Do I hear a motion about approval of the minutes?
back on that thing, I don't think we should have in there anything about the current height of the fence at all.
Okay.
Because we turned it back to them pending zoning action.
Yeah,
And then they would need to come back to us if they want to put up a fence after the zoning
Oh.
issue is resolved.
Okay.
So I think that needs to be reflected somehow.
All right, so I gotta take out this whole sentence, members noted that she would have to have a zoning variance to keep the, but I gotta write something else. What?
to erect once they're approved by DRC.
You have to say it again, you're cutting out.
So that she would have to get a variance in order to erect fences as approved by DRC.
Or we could say, apply for a zoning variance before they can bring the question of the fences to the DRC.
There you are, okay.
Yeah, because the fences are
I can work
not, there's
with
nothing
that.
approved, right?
No, the fence is not approved at all.
Right.
Or app with DRC. Okay, I can work with that.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve?
Yeah, I approve as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good.
Hey, Joan, I have one little question to ask, if I could, of the board. We ended up doing the asphalt millings on the street along the 1700 block of Main Street. And we had some requests and I went ahead and said okay to it, but then I got contacted and I need to check with you guys first. For their parking lots. There are parking spaces next to that street. And I've had some requests from other folks in town. We got, as you know, on the CDOT has given us an overabundance of asphalt milling. And down in the north end of town in Ward 3, I've had several people contact me regarding using it for their driveway surface. Now, obviously, it says in the code that asphalt, or not in the code, in the DRC guidelines that asphalt paving is not allowed, but that gravel and there's a couple other materials, I don't have it right in front of me. The asphalt millings, yeah, it's made of asphalt paving material, but it's not a smooth surface. So what does that qualify as? Or am I putting myself or others in trouble regarding the using it as for their driveway space? The one benefit I see in it is it stops the driveway space from looking like a mud hole.
Yeah.
And, you know, all types of other things regarding that. Although, you know, once it's put down, then obviously the homeowner can do whatever they want with it, and they can change it as it goes along as well. So just wanted to get your general take. Is that verboten? Is it, what would you view that as?
Well, I would speak to what I would view it as, and I'm not sure that everybody is going to agree with what I view it as. But I view it as asphalt. And the minute you roll it well, you have essentially created an asphalt type surface. One of the things that, I mean, I actually think that what we're doing to our streets is not an ultimate kindness. If we want an asphalt street, we should start building decent asphalt streets. That you know, this is an overlay on things that are already too high. But as far as driveways, we would do a chip and seal. However, if you look on page 83 in the residential parking things of book 3, what it says is aggregate concrete, gravel, or chip and seal are appropriate paving materials. I'm finding, you know, the distribution of these millings and how well they're set down is very hodgepodge at the moment in the town. And and yes, we have an overabundance of the stuff. We no longer have a potential parking lot down by the lake. We have a CDOT dumping ground for millings.
Yeah.
See, I have to take the other side of the street. I think especially at our end of the town, we have real driveway issues because of steepness and so forth. And you wouldn't know it, but underneath one side of my driveway is all millings. And I've covered them with gravel over the years and it just packed them down. And I think if you have an opportunity to use these, I think people ought to be able to, just to take care of their property. Great, it helps with drainage and the dust. And it's not like they're going to go out there and oil this stuff and roll it. You know, it's more filling holes and packing it in with your daily use. But you know, as long as we have asphalt streets in town and road mill streets, I think it ought to be acceptable, at least at this end of town.
Well, I agree. If people are, especially down on that end of town, having problems, I don't want to see people start paving their driveways because they've seen people that have, you know, the stuff on theirs. But especially if it's covered with gravel, so you have a base where you're not losing your, you know, not driving on mud, not losing your gravel all the time. Is that possible? Where they can put down the stuff, but then you have to put gravel over it?
Because what we have said even in the guidelines, that chip and seal are appropriate paving material. A chip and seal is essentially an asphalt product.
Yeah, but it's oiled.
This looks similar to chip and seal.
Yeah, they're just not getting it for free is the problem. They don't want to buy chip and seal if they can get this for free, and I can kind of commiserate with that. But I don't want to see everybody.
It's oil based. So chip and seal is oil based, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe they still have to ask us, or I don't know.
No, we don't want to go through that.
Okay.
I
think the difference is if it's rolled smooth or not. That's the biggest difference.
And how much? I mean, how big of a driveway are they going to pave? Is it where they pull off the street, or is it got a basketball court and a 3-car garage and all that? You know.
Well, it sure, you know, if you live in one of these houses up here, it sure beats a you know, a dirt driveway or a gravel driveway.
No, I do agree. I think it could be useful, but I would like for it to not set a precedent that we look like all the driveways are actually paved up there. It does look like it's paved. I mean, I don't care how smooth.
You can, a good example is right across from me. Deb McCoy just did a huge landscaping job on her house, and they put millings down and they packed them down, and they're already grayish now. It's not black.
Yeah.
you know. But it's a nice smooth surface and something that you can maintain easy. But if you drive up by my house and look at that, you really wouldn't know that, you know, it was asphalt up there.
I guess as long as there's a reasonable size to it, if they have to like let you know how big it's going to be, you know, if it's the length of the driveway to their garage or where they pull off and park. But I just, my thing is I don't want to see where, you know, it's easier to have that than gravel or grass or something where it starts to take over.
Well, it all comes down to maintenance, Joan. I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm not saying no, Mark.
no, but
Yeah,
I'm saying we have to be a little practical about this.
Yeah. So,
But the application of it, Mark, you're talking about what Debbie did and what you have done. Part of what's the problem with these millings is that the application in so many places, I mean, even the application along the area of Main Street between 10th and 11th at this point is sloppy. I mean, and what you're talking about is somebody who did it very nicely. And your use of it is sort of to pack in your spaces and to give you a finished driveway. I just see it sort of being, you know, it's everybody's solution. And so we'll just throw this stuff down.
and maybe we need some sort of I hate to say pre-approved, but some sort of guidelines for it. If they're going to do it, they have to specifically state the size, the use for it, and then it has to be finished properly so that it actually has edges and looks like they didn't just dump some stuff and spread it around.
Well, and the other part is, although a couple of them are renters, so it'd have to depend on the landlord, is if they wanted to use it, it wouldn't be that hard to add some gravel on top of it,
Yeah.
that it mixes with it. I did stop doing it when I was contacted regarding this and stopped it for right now. But I still have people inquiring about it, of course. So,
But I think it's interesting to put it on, but if we put it on a pre-approved, we're approving it, you know, not just for use in our Book 3 districts, but for use everywhere.
Well, I think I didn't mean a pre-approved list. I meant some guidelines for it. So if someone is going to, they get permission to do it, then there are some guidelines for it still, that they can't just go do whatever they want.
What's the difference between the chip seal and what people are in the you know, the reclaimed roadbed?
well, the chip seal is a top,
Up layer to an asphalt.
it's a top, it only is a surface treatment. You need something beneath it. It cannot go right on to just dirt.
It has to be on a hard asphalt surface that's been
Yeah.
freshly laid. And the asphalt has to be hot, and then they throw the gravel on top of it, and then they roll it. So it becomes part of the top surface of the asphalt.
Because I know the section in front of my house up between like 11th and I guess 15th, I'm assuming that's a chip seal type of application.
Actually, what we did was put the millings down, and then it's a reclamite, or there's another name for it, rejuvenation oil that is put on the millings, and it binds, it provides another liquid that binds the material together. Before, my road and bridge superintendent is out right now, but he was contacting in order to do it for the 1700 to and north block of Main Street, and also from 10th to 11th of Main. So it would solidify that as far as provide a more complete surface.
I mean, to me, that's sort of like what we talk about with the chip seal. We could be more specific, I guess, but I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm not particularly thrilled with the roadbed, you know, the road base just thrown on the ground, and
right.
I mean, it doesn't make that big an improvement from what I've seen driving down Main Street. Why should they get dust and everything else?
stops the dust, but yeah, it needs that top treatment. It does. Absolutely.
So maybe what Joan's suggesting, that we put together a few guidelines of how this would need to be used. Rather than open the door to just saying, sure, anybody who can pick up a bucket of 2 of millings can go and put it wherever they want.
That probably would be a good idea.
But if we do that, then it's becoming more of an asphalt surface. If it's just thrown down, it's more like a gravel surface.
Well, I'm not sure what the guidelines say, Sean. I'm just saying. I think we
Right.
need some.
Right, no, but that, we're against the asphalt, but then we're requiring them to install it like asphalt.
Yes, if we're requiring the oil to go on top of it, and roll it, yes,
Right.
we are. But if we're, requiring somehow that, I don't know, because I don't have enough knowledge of the different ways you could apply it, but Kent was talking about if we say that it has to be a gravel mixture, I don't know what kinds of ways we could define it so that it would end up being a job that looks finished.
Looks appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, and just especially the requirement to specify where they're going to put it, because I guess what I keep picturing is that somebody decides, well, it'd be nice when they have company, they can park in the front, and so we'll make the street wider out in front and just put some of this here, and then you start having these random patches of that stuff everywhere. So as long as it's controlled.
We've already started doing that down here on Main Street, down below my house.
Yep.
I mean, they've expanded the street with it for parking for those people.
The city did that?
Yes.
Mm.
But then it's been treated properly and rolled properly.
Yeah.
I don't see people doing that in front of their houses. You could limit it to just driveways and aprons.
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest problem is right at the bottom of the driveways, usually, where, when it comes off the street into your driveway, there's always a big hole there. I could see where if you build it up enough so it matches what's on the street, it would help a lot of people.
Yeah, you were kind of garbled a little bit there on mine, but I think we need to fine tune the requirements on it a little bit, but I don't have a major objection. People that are having trouble, I know some driveways are having a lot of trouble, either with mud or just washing away or having to scrape all your gravel back up the hill. So,
Especially as dry as it's been, it's hard to maintain your gravel road unless you have some moisture to help your substrate underneath it.
yeah.
But anyway.
Does this turn gray over time, or does it stay as black like asphalt?
It turns pretty gray.
Yeah.
So it'll look like gravel after a while if it's loose.
Yeah.
Kent, do we have until next time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think, if I say to wait, yes, they'll get to wait. So,
Because I'd like us to really think about this and to come up with some sort of statement that's workable for people then.
yeah, and I think if we can, either yourself or any member of the board, or have staff come up with 3 or 4 guidelines like Joan suggested that
And then we
could be
pass
part of
them
this,
around
and then have that as part of the packet, and then just have it
Okay.
for you guys to look at.
We're
Everybody,
almost to that time of year where it's going to be tough to put it down anyway. You don't put
Right.
it down during winter. You put it down during the summer, else it just balls up. So we got some time.
Okay, because I think that we should try to address this, and partially because we're going to have to do something with multiple tons of millings.
okay. Does everybody want to just cogitate on this a little bit and we can email back and forth? Kent, do you want us to email you about it in particular, or just everybody be ready for the next meeting to
Yeah, if you have any ideas, go ahead and email them to staff and then we can put together a little worksheet.
Okay.
And it'll be just part of your packet next time.
Yeah, well, and let's let, even if we can put together a little worksheet in you know, with some ideas, if we get them out to everybody and everybody looks, we'll come next time pretty prepared, I think, to
Yep.
try to, you know, finish it up.
All right. Sounds good. Well, shall we adjourn then?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Good night, Cindy. Good night, Mark. Good night,
Good
Joan.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, John boy.